Hi, my name is Hacia Atherton, and in 2017 I survived a horrific horse accident where I crushed my pelvis and sustained severe nerve damage to my right leg. The medical team informed me that I may never walk again in any meaningful way. However, I refused to accept these external limitations placed upon me, and within a year I was walking around the park with my puppy dogs, and a few years on I managed to do a 100k bike ride. I would like to thank Josh Talks for inviting me to share my story, and I'm honoured to be on this side of the screen with you today. I truly hope my story of turning trauma into triumph inspires you to overcome any challenge that you are currently facing, no matter what the odds are. There is a saying that a dog is our best friend. However, for me, it was horses. I started riding at a very young age of 6, and on my 7th birthday I was given my very first pony, Honey Babe, a beautiful buckskin Welsh mountain pony. I still remember walking out on the front lawn and seeing her standing there with her little halter on and a pink ribbon tied around it, and my heart leapt for joy. For me, the reason a connection with a horse is so special is from a horse's point of view, we are a predator and they are a prey animal. So their natural instinct is to be fearful of us. To build up a relationship based on trust and connection that will allow us to actually ride them is a very incredible thing. When you get to high levels of dressage, this connection is even more important, as you need it to be able to execute the movements in perfect timing and in sync with your horse. Qualifying to ride for FEI, which is an international level of dressage, was a very exciting milestone along the path to achieving my greater goal of becoming a Grand Prix dressage rider and hopefully one day representing my country. I cannot explain how magical the feeling is when you ride across the diagonal of a dressage arena and get a line of perfect flying changes. It's truly the closest thing you'll get to being able to fly while still on land. My horses were everything to me. The reason I went to work, the reason I got up in the morning, even the reason I went to the gym so I could become a fitter and better rider. They are truly a labour of love. There was many long, cold nights getting horses ready for competitions, waking up at 4 a.m. to do a 2-hour drive to some unknown place to be able to just do a 4-minute dressage test. But I loved every minute of it, and it was my purpose for living. Over the years, I've been lucky enough to own some incredibly special horses, one being my Irish draft stallion, the Bellstone Fox, who I won Grand Champion on at the Melbourne Summer Royal Show in 2014. At the time of my accident, I owned 2 incredible horses, my beautiful Riley, who was my FEI horse, and my very special Cece, who I actually had the accident on. I bought Cece as a weanling, and this is a very special and unique relationship you build with a horse. As you bring them up from a young horse and teach them everything they know, you become extremely connected to these horses. Tragically, on an extremely cold July winter's evening in 2017, while I was training with my dressage coach, my beautiful Cece reared up vertically, which made me fall from her back. She lost her balance, and as her back legs collapsed, all 600 kilos of her landed in my lap. She rolled off to my right-hand side, and adrenaline kicked in as I managed to turn myself over and army crawl out of the way, dragging my lifeless legs behind me. I knew I had to get out of the way because as she stood up, she would have trampled me. A few metres away, I collapsed into the cold sand, and the most excruciating pain engulfed my body and took my breath away. I was unable to move or feel my legs, and at this point I thought I had broken my spine. Although the paramedics came very quickly, for me I felt like I was lying there for a lifetime, unable to breathe because of the amount of pain that was pulsing through my body at the time. I was airlifted to the Alfred Hospital, where they assessed the damage and informed me that I had basically shattered my pelvis and sustained severe nerve damage to my right leg. They were unable to operate for a few days because they needed to make sure that the swelling had subsided to the point that they could successfully perform the surgery. Every 4 hours the nurses had to roll me so that I would not sustain bed sores, and you could hear the bones rubbing against each other each time they did. The surgery was as much a success as it could be at the time because my pelvis was extremely fragile. I woke up with the medical team informing me that I may never be able to walk again in a meaningful way. I would have to spend 3 months non-weight bearing and an extremely long rehabilitation period after that. I lay in my hospital bed, adjusting myself mentally and emotionally to the new reality that I would have to spend life in a wheelchair for the foreseeable future. Life as I knew it was over. My dream of becoming a Grand Prix dressage rider had been shattered along with my pelvis. The reality that I would have to sell my beloved horses from a hospital bed without saying goodbye caused more emotional pain than the current physical torture I was in. The reality that I may never walk again in a meaningful way was hanging over my head. Naturally, I sunk into a dark place emotionally and mentally. However, I then decided to focus on the simple joys and pleasures that life had to offer. I remember being taken out into the sunshine for the first time in days, and feeling the sun on my skin and breathing the fresh air gave me a simple peace and joy. I spent 6 months in hospital, and for me the most pivotal moment was day 117. This was the first day I attempted to stand on land. I remember getting to my feet, feeling dizzy and nauseous. My right leg gave way and I collapsed into the arms of my therapist. My beautiful mother and little sister stood on the other side of the walking bars with their unconditional love and support for me. However, as I looked into their eyes, I could see my pain mirrored, and the severity of the situation hit me. I wheeled myself back to my hospital room with tears rolling down my face. I felt hopeless and defeated. As I lay in my hospital bed, on the verge of giving up, I remembered a cartoon that used to be on our family fridge. It was a pelican with a feisty little frog in its mouth, strangling it, with the big words at the bottom, "Never give up." At this point, I knew I needed to look at my situation objectively and put in a strategy in place to achieve my goal of being able to walk again. I managed to realise that I missed a pivotal moment of celebrating my win, that finally I actually stood on land for the first time. At this point, I developed my courage goals and my superstar goals. So my courage goals were something that I could achieve every day if I dug deep and pushed that little bit. At this time, it was just standing, assisted by my therapist for a few seconds. My superstar goals were standing just for 1 or 2 seconds unassisted, and I could only do this once or twice a week. Once my superstar goals became achievable more regularly, they turned into my courage goals, and I developed new superstar goals. Embracing that strategy and taking it one step at a time is how I progressed. The important thing I learned from that day on is to celebrate all small wins. Even though I had the entire staircase in front of me of the goal to achieve to walk, I focused on each little step, and this is how I even learned to do stairs again. And every time I was able to do an extra step, I would actually do a little whoop whoop and have a little chair dance. Although people in the hospital probably thought I was mentally unbalanced, it was important to recognise the achievements I had just made. I had completely changed my mindset. Failure had turned into an opportunity to grow and develop. With each failed step I took, I became stronger mentally, emotionally, and physically. I could not have done this alone, and I surrounded myself with an incredible support network. This is an important message I would like to get across to you. Being vulnerable is okay. That is what makes us human. And it's important that when you fall and are unable to get back up onto your feet, that you reach out to the people around you and allow them to help you back to your feet. Over the past 3 years, I've had several operations, including a computerized DRG unit, which has been put into my spinal cord to help with my nerve pain. I am in daily pain, and I have stumbled many times, but as my father says, it's not how many times you fall that matters, it's how many times you stand up. Throughout my time in hospital and over my last 3 years of recovery, I have continued to study the Australian CPA program. Lots of people told me I was overloading myself and I shouldn't do this. However, for me, The CPA was my rock. It was the constant. No matter what progress or setbacks, up or down, I had in my physical, mental and emotional health, the CPA was always there and something consistent and constant that I could rely on. I actually get my final results tomorrow, and hopefully if I pass these last 2 subjects, I'll be able to proudly call myself a CPA. The core message I would like to pass on to you is never give up. Do not accept external limitations that people place on you, and the ones that we place on ourselves always need to be questioned. That little naughty gremlin inside our heads telling us that we can't needs to sometimes be put in its place, and we need to show ourselves that we can. However, you do need to check in with your body and respect the limitations that you cannot physically push, but the ones that you can give a little nudge, go and push yourself out of your comfort zone, because that's where you will find your personal growth. Speaking about pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, while I was in hospital, I set myself a goal to walk across the stage at Deakin University and receive my commerce degree. A lot of people thought this was unrealistic. However, armed with my loving parents, my trusty walker and the fantastic Deakin staff, just 7 months post the accident, I managed to achieve this goal. Today, I am the first female Atherton in 5 generations to work full-time in our national family business. I'm a committee member of the CPA Emerging Leaders Network and the treasurer of the School Broadcasting Network, which is a charity that gives young people a voice to help create the world that we want to live in today. My goals for the future include completing the Amy Gillett 130k bike ride in November, which is going to be an incredible goal if I can achieve it, as in a few days I have another operation that I'll need to recover from and then get back into training on my bike. I also would like to complete a sprint distance triathlon, which will consist of a 5k run. I'd like to progress my directorship career and complete an MBA. Most importantly for me personally is to inspire others to overcome the challenges and obstacles that are in front of them so that they can also turn their dreams into reality. I've gone from lying motionless in a hospital bed with doctors telling me I may never walk again in any meaningful way, to 6 months down the track taking my first few successful steps. I've then progressed to being able to ride 100k bike rides and even go dancing in nightclubs. All because I believed in myself and I surrounded myself with others that also believed in me, and I took it one step at a time. I truly believe that every day people can achieve extraordinary things if they stay committed to their dreams, write them down as goals, implement a strategy to success and execute this one step at a time. Thank you for allowing me to share my story with you, and I truly wish you all the success for achieving your dreams and future goals.
Tell us what you think about this video, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.